the leader's emotional maturity actually has a huge impact on their ability to navigate a situation like that as well. Because depending on how philosophical you want to get, you have to be very aware of your own ego. If you can't accept what you are not good at, you're going to keep trying to learn that when you might be better served to let that go.
To be an authentic leader, you really have to self-reflect.
Right.
So really understanding, what my true voice was, building my set of principles, and then living those out loud. And I just think that gives you an opportunity, and that's it. You get an opportunity as a leader to connect with the audience, with your employees, your coworkers, and they're either going to buy into you or they're not.
Yeah.
The number one thing that stops a leader from truly growing and being better than yesterday is a lack of self-acceptance.
Diving right in, Multifamily Forward, presented by Mark Taylor Residential. I'm Adam Greco, and as always, John Carlson. How are you, John?
Better than I deserve. Glad to be here.
There we go. They're a little Dave Ramsey again.
That's
I love
right.
it.
That's
and
right.
we have a very, very special guest, Christina Howard, founder and CEO of Intently. Christina, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And we're talking everything leadership.
Exactly.
Am I throwing you off just yet?
Not yet.
Okay, I'm going to do my
Keep
best.
going. Yes.
I'm going to do my best.
See if you can throw me
I
off.
don't think you can rattle her. I
don't
really
think I
you
can either. I was just
I've been
trying to
rattled
build
once
a
or
little
twice
confidence of myself
in my
right
career.
there.
Yeah. I've been rattled once or twice. We'll see if you can
Years
do it
ago.
too.
Yes, maybe. Christina, we always, I love to pepper you with just a little bit of questions right from the beginning. Before we do that, I'm going to ask John a quick question, though. So, talking everything leadership, John, I say this as truthful, sincere. You are one of the best leaders I've ever seen. You've been a friend of mine for a long time, but
Thank you.
You focus continuously on leadership, and of course, our huge employee base of family members, et cetera. It's been your goal, and have been just intentful with all of that constantly as long as I've known you. So let's discuss a little bit on the significance of being a leader and nurturing talent, for that matter.
Well, I think, and we'll probably talk or expand upon this later, but I think it's really about being authentic.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in front of a room of 20 people and you're not authentic, it's very difficult to get that group to connect to you and follow you. So I think authenticity matters a great deal. I think when you're running an organization as a leader, we talk often about talent density, and it's really important to bring in the right people. We're an organization of just under 800 people. We're not large in the grand scale of global economics.
Right.
It's really important that we find people that align with our vision, our mission, and our strategy. And if you find the right people within that organization, and then, as we say, nurture that talent, grow that leadership, and if you're focused on, a long-term strategic plan, and you're willing to develop those folks, right? Give them the opportunity, empower them to grow. They'll be the leaders of your successful organization tomorrow. So it's really about investing, building, growing, learning, all of us collectively. So that's a big piece of it.
I love it. And who better than having Christina Howard here, Coach Howard?
Yes. Here we go.
We're gonna. So we have
Christina.
a couple questions.
Yeah.
We'll stick with Christina. I'm sorry, that was my fault. We're gonna stick with. We're gonna start off with a couple questions, but would love to ask you a couple personal questions, if that's okay.
Sounds great.
That did not sound
I'm in
great.
for it.
What would
I'm
you do
in
if
for
she
it.
said no?
I know.
I would continue with the questions and probably,
Right.
yeah. So tell us a little bit. So how did you come to Arizona? Native from some? Go for it.
Feels like it at this point. I've been here since 99, and
That's when I came.
yeah, okay.
99.
And a great year, right?
Yeah, fantastic
right,
year.
right
Same
before
Greyhound.
Y2K. Yeah,
Exactly.
Same Greyhound, yes. And I came here for a person that I was dating at the time that ended up becoming my husband, and so I've been here ever since. And now it's been 25 years.
Crazy, isn't it?
I know, time flies.
I
So
think about it all the time.
yeah.
too.
Quarter century.
yeah, quarter century. That's really dating us, John.
And
So
where from? Prior to.
Florida mostly,
Florida,
and then
okay.
I did a little stint in Houston, Texas.
Okay.
So
So
only about
basically,
7
you just
months.
hit the whole Sun Belt going right across.
Just the
southern-
hottest places in the United States, probably, yes,
Well,
to
good.
live.
A little
Yeah,
bit different than John being just south of Minneapolis and me being in Chicago.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, this must have been such a stark shock to both of you when you came.
In a positive way.
Right.
Yes.
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 So I met you originally. You did a little bit of coaching for the Arizona Multi-Housing Association for the board.
Yes.
And I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Thank you.
You've also, of course, continued to do that for Mark Taylor.
Yeah.
What inspired you to be a life coach or an executive coach?
When I was in corporate America, I spent about 2 decades in corporate America. There's the other 20 years. And I found that what I gravitated towards, I was in HR, I found that I gravitated towards really just sitting with leaders and helping them, do the things that they wanted to do.
Yeah.
And that required having lots of conversations, moving the invisible things out of their way, which were mindset, belief systems. Can I do this? Is this the right decision? And, being able to create that lift in an organization through a leader was so important, because you can have a policy, you can, put in a program, but if the leader can't get the lift out of the people to do the big things, then it's not going to work. So I went through a period where my son was going through a pretty significant, health crisis, and I needed to take a step back from that big corporate career. And when I went back out, I decided that what I wanted to do was the thing that I was the best at, and only that, and that was coaching.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. I can only imagine your team probably is pretty solid from top to bottom, just with the guidance and leadership from you.
Yes.
Carter. I know Carter.
Yes, and
yes.
Right. There's this the saying, the cobbler's kids have no shoes. So there are also things that I need to listen to myself on at times if we're going to be authentic.
Put the mirror up. Put the mirror up.
Exactly.
Good.
Exactly.
Well, I caught something because I went through your website and
Uh-oh.
I was looking at the About Us page, and I went all the way down to the bottom. I don't know why that's my first instinct, is to scroll all the way down before I start reading from the top. But
now I'm wondering.
I went down to the bottom and I found something that really resonated with me.
Okay, good.
Okay. And this kills me that I have this much guilt, but I think it has a lot to do with the upbringing. So you have, it was a listing of, if you have or have any of these thoughts, contact us. Right. This is the one that hit me. You don't give yourself a break when you need rest because you feel guilty, like you haven't earned it.
Right. That's very
so powerful for me. Yeah.
And what did it mean to you when you read it?
Well, I went back to my days of just how my mother and would always lay the guilt on to make me do something that I didn't want to do.
Yeah.
And Catholic, Italian, that's just, that whole guilt thing just continues.
Yes.
But then just watching, my dad and my grandfathers work. That comes first before you can provide for the family.
Right.
That's my guilt. Like, if I'm not working constantly, I feel like I haven't earned the time off.
Right. The relaxation.
Yeah.
And all of that, unconscious kind of things that were coming into you through the family.
Right.
Became your belief system.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's hard to let go.
All right. So I'm going to be paying Christina after this show.
Yes.
I hope the hourly rate is a little discounted for me, though, if that's just
you get the Mark Taylor rate.
I like it.
Let me add something
please
to that. So I think something that Christina helped teach or helped me discover was really, as a leader, having empathy for myself. And we've talked about that many times over the years. And, I think it's easy to be hardest on yourself. If you think about Jordan Peterson, which we talked about, 12 Rules of Life, it's really easy for most folks, because you want to do good for others, especially ones you love and care for, employees, loved ones, all of those things. It's really hard to reflect and take care of yourself. And you have to do that through a lens of empathy. So just a little twist to
see. I'm earning every bit of this right now. Thank you.
And the other thing I would say too to that is, I love that you shared that it really comes from growing up and how you grew up, and that's
what molds us, right?
It is what molds us, and that's what leaders are often not comfortable talking about and being vulnerable about, and it really affects your ability to lead.
I think John would wish that sometimes I don't share as much as I do. Might make things a little easier on him, but I appreciate that. I'd say that, John.
Love the transparency.
I think he loves the transparency.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. So we know that there are many different traits as far as being an effective and great leader. Can I put you on the spot and ask, if there was one factor in being a great leader, what would it be?
I would echo what John said around empathy.
Yeah.
And I would have a little bit of a twist and say the acceptance of reality, the ability to accept the reality
Okay.
of people and situations and what's happening so that you can work with it,
Yeah.
right, as opposed to against it. So that acceptance of reality is, is an empathetic thing to do.
So let's continue down that. And
Yeah.
thank you.
Mhm.
We talked about empathy.
Yeah.
What are some additional factors as far as being a great leader, a good leader, an effective leader?
I would say openness and flexibility
Okay.
as well.
So, John, you became president of Mark Taylor in 2016. You've been with the company going back to the early 2000s.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I didn't mean to say that out loud.
right.
You were 12 when you started.
Yes, I was.
Mhm.
Yes, you didn't have any gray hair at
Not
that
even a
time.
teenager.
Yeah, not even a teenager. So how did you evolve your role as president and being the ultimate leader here for Mark Taylor over the years?
Man, I look back 8 years and, I think about the core principle, or one of our core principles, being better than yesterday.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I think I'm a testament to that. And all I mean by that is I've really engaged in a lifestyle of pushing myself to grow, to be an ever learner. And I'm absolutely addicted to learning today. So I'm habit stacking. I'm, running, biking, listening to podcasts, listening to an Audible. I'm in my car. I don't know if I ever listen to FM radio anymore.
Yeah.
And these are things that I just choose to do. On a rare occasion, on a Friday after work, I might listen to Spotify music, something, right? But it's really about pushing myself to be better for myself and my teammates, my loved ones, all of those things collectively. So I think as a younger president, I really had to focus in on myself, meaning to be an authentic leader, you really have to self-reflect.
Right.
So really understanding, what my true voice was, building my set of principles, and then living those out loud. And I just think that gives you an opportunity, and that's it. You get an opportunity as a leader to connect with the audience, with your employees, your coworkers, and they're either going to buy into you or they're not.
Yeah.
And
you can tell pretty quickly, right?
right, it's pretty straightforward. So I think, as I've evolved from 16 through today, I really think it's critical for the success of an organization and the collective leadership to really buy into the vision, whatever that is, your mission, and follow through with your principles. And I think when you outline that, you focus on that, it gives everyone a collective understanding of what we're trying to accomplish. And then you unleash it, right? You think about Hubert Jolly,
Yeah.
The human magic. I love that. There's components of Brené Brown. She talks about just unleashing the power, right? Don't hoard the power.
Yeah.
Unleash the power. Let it build within your organization, and it'll grow infinitely. So it's about empowering, supporting, growing, pushing, being transparent, having a tough conversation.
Yeah.
If there's something that's going this way, right? Keeping the company on the guardrails. So I think that's just a small snippet of it, but that's part of being a leader.
You heard, Christina, you've heard John.
Mhm.
I mean, our guiding principles, of course, and John just mentioned being better than you were yesterday, right?
Right.
One thing that I love. We have leaders all around us constantly. Some good, some not as good as others, but you hear a lot of them, like when they're put on the spot, when they are asked questions about being a leader, what do you do? What do you do to make sure that you continue to evolve? What do you see as struggles for most leaders to really grasp what you would like to teach, of course, what is successful?
Well, the number one thing that stops a leader from truly growing and being better than yesterday is a lack of self-acceptance. And that may sound, different. And what I mean by that is the ability to piggyback off of what you were saying, John, to know who you are and also who you are not.
Right.
And be able to accept that. Because if you can't accept what you are not good at, you're going to keep trying to learn that when you might be better served to let that go.
I like it.
Right? And spend the energy elsewhere. And when you're a high achiever and when you really want to learn and grow, it's hard to admit those things because you want to have control over growing and doing better and taking the organization where it needs to go. So stopping and just having some acceptance for, you know what, maybe I'm not the best at that, and that's okay.
I like it. And we're talking about, of course, self-acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
What are some other common challenges that growing leaders, continuing leaders face nowadays? Because the world seems to be changing.
I have
constantly.
74.
I know
You have 74
exactly.
of them?
Right.
You got
Yes,
a whole
74.
list?
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
Nice.
Well, there's so many things that we could talk about. I mean, there's AI, there's, just, things happening in the economy. I mean, how would you like me to narrow it down?
Let's hone in more on corporate life. Let's talk there, because we have, it's still very popular, the working from home.
Right.
And I'd see that as a very big struggle for most leaders.
It is.
Because even though you have access to technology, Teams, Zoom, whatever you're using,
right.
they're still not there in front of you. You
right.
don't see everything.
Correct. And so you have to have ways to build trust with your team in those types of environments. And the leader's emotional maturity actually has a huge impact on their ability to navigate a situation like that as well. Because depending on how philosophical you want to get, you have to be very aware of your own ego in the process.
Understood.
Right.
Understood.
And the emotional reactivity that you might have on the inside when you navigate things like that. And so, having the emotional maturity to be able to sit with that, that divide with others and then still lean into it and help build a bridge to get the person on the other side, to walk across it, if possible, is, one of the biggest things that I think is a challenge for people, because we all have our own busy lives. We all have our own stresses. And so it can be hard to have the level of presence and mindfulness and self-awareness to be able to do that and be grounded.
I love it.
To that end, I mean, you'll hear people oftentimes say, oh, I don't have an ego, right? I'm humble.
Really?
Everyone has an ego.
Of course.
Right.
It's just how you monitor, control, and really navigate that long term.
Yeah.
Because it can rear up, right?
Right.
It's easy. You get some wins and you get some momentum and like, oh, look at me. And you're pounding your chest. And then all of a sudden life humbles you.
Right.
And so it's how you, I think, orchestrate defending that, pushing it back, keeping it in that box and elevating yourself with humility at all times. It's really important.
So this is interesting to me because we're talking about leadership, right? But we're talking about being a human being.
Human, yes.
Right?
Yeah.
We're parents, we're leaders, significant others, we're family members, and the list goes on and on. Is there anything that Christina has been sharing with us that resonates with you? I mean, here and maybe even personal life, home life?
Mostly everything. I mean, I've worked with Christina in full transparency several years. And, I think when you think about being a great leader, I think it's about unleashing the things that really drive you, that allow you to grow yourself and then impact the others around you. And I think she's done a tremendous job with me. And maybe I'll save some of that for the grateful moment at the end, but allowing me to just grow and kind of take that invisible ceiling off of my lid and allowing me to grow. So I have a long way to go, and I'll continue to push myself. But I think, lots of things that she's challenged me with over the years, and I'll give you one. It's a perfect example. If you think about the DISC assessment, I'm an SI, right? I'm support, influence. It takes a lot more energy for me. And this, again, you only have so much energy in the day. So as a leader, I can't live in the D area, like the direct, like being the boss, being arrogant. I can't do that the entire day. It exhausts me. But there's times I have to do that as president.
Yeah.
Right? I have to do it. So I have to pick my spots. And it's okay to be arrogant, right? It's important to be arrogant at times, even though I'm a very humble guy.
Yeah.
Because it's part of leadership. It's part of style when you have to flex, right? I call it flexing.
Yeah.
Into that D space. And it's difficult, but it has to be done. And oftentimes I'll do it with transparency. So if I'm in the arrogant space, I'm being very transparent. Like, this is what we need. I've thought a lot about this. Another thoughtful leadership tactic that you've given me. But I've thought a lot about this. We have to do this, Adam. Like, we have to go get more PMAs.
Yeah. I'm
As
doing
one
it.
example.
I'm doing
So,
it. Yeah, by the
yes,
way.
yes.
Yeah.
Nice shout.
Thank you. So having that that's me on the golf course. Depending on how well I'm playing.
Depends on the front.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I struggle so much with wanting to be overly confident. I'm constantly confident, probably more so than I should be, but it's where I struggle to really tell my team or any team that I've had the privilege of managing over the years, No, I know what I'm talking about. Just do it
Right.
my way.
Right.
And that's probably the wrong way to say it, of course, not my way, Frank Sinatra, but
Right.
you know what I mean.
Well, if you were going to bust out into song as you said it, then we could
That
watch
probably
that
would've been
musical,
better.
and
Okay.
it would be
be
great.
fantastic.
We'll do that after.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
You're right. I mean, the type of leader that I work with solely is, I would call them, they're like the caregiver leaders. They tend to focus on others first, and it's hard for them to put themselves first, and it's hard for them to be perceived as arrogant or selfish. These are two words that usually come for us.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times I work with those in coaching. And so I was actually really excited to hear John use the word arrogant the way he did, because most people would have a negative connotation about it. Like, oh, what does he mean?
I sure did the first couple times or three times or four times we talked
for
about
a few
it.
months, right? And so, you have to own the word so the word doesn't own you. And so there's always positive and, perceived to negative traits of a word. And so once you can, take the word like arrogant or selfish and make it into this really positive, playful, fun thing to be, then it's easier to come across as confident without even thinking about it.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Are there any emerging trends that established leaders, developing leaders, just continue? Is there anything out there that you like to share?
The introduction of AI, I mean, we brought it up a few minutes ago,
Yeah.
but the introduction of AI is going to really put an importance on the emotional intelligence skills of leaders, if you think about it, because AI is going to be able to perform some of the tasks, right? And
Already is.
technology, right? And it already is, right? And so then what is the value of a leader,
Yeah.
right? Because AI
you
will
just
be...
scared the living you-know-what out of me.
Right. Well, I think about this a lot.
Yeah.
And so that's why I focus on the kind of emotional maturity and mastery of a leader and their ability to read the room and just keep the organization moving in a strategic way.
Yeah.
Because, that is the future of leadership. It's the person that can solicit followership and can, set a strategy and be innovative and, help shepherd people along with them to come where they want to go for the organization. And so we're going to continue to change. There's going to be new technology, change. It has always been there, but it is going to be significant in the next 3 to 5 years. So a leader's ability to manage through that level of
That's not a long
change.
time away.
No, it's not, right?
It's here.
Yeah, it's here. That's what I mean, for the next 3 to 5 years,
Yeah,
not
no,
in
I-
the
yeah.
next. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's going to continue to evolve. And so, I mean, there will be fewer and fewer leaders over time, if you really think about it.
Does this anything keep you up at night when we're just discussing this?
Several things keep me up at night. But, I think it's your mindset. So are we going to, as leaders, embrace this as an organization? Are we going to embrace this? It is undoubtedly the fourth industrial revolution of our time.
Yeah.
It is.
And we're in it. And whether people choose not to like it or they want to like it, you think about the old guy or woman that, I'm never going to use a smartphone. And, 2 years later, they can't get off the smartphone. So AI is here to stay. So how do you use that to your advantage? How do you influence your organization to grow with AI?
Sure.
People will be here. What's interesting about AI, and it was always, I think, 2000s, 2010s, there's lots of conversations around, AI and machines, like we're going to be robots end to end. Well, what's happening today with AI and next AGI and all of those things, they're trying to make the machines more human-like, right? So it's almost
Scary.
it's a reverse.
Yeah.
It is.
And it's a tremendous tool. And I think that's what it is. It's a tool today. But if you think about the influence of steam engine to, electronics, to electrification, you advance to computers, I think AI is exponentially bigger than all three of those combined.
Yeah.
I really do. So let's see what happens. I'm excited. I mean, I think we just have to embrace it.
I love this.
Yeah, we
I love
will.
this.
And I would say, AI will have an element of empathy as well to it that might be indistinguishable from a human at times, especially if it's done well. And the one thing that will be different is that an AI is not going to be able to make someone feel seen and heard, right, and connected with. And so that will be the value of a leader. Oftentimes I hear people say, this leader doesn't even, know my kids, doesn't know this, doesn't know that, doesn't look me in the eyes when they're talking to me, has their phone on the desk every time we're having a conversation, right? And so if we're no better than AI that way, then, right? And so, and to John's point too, it's what I said in the beginning, the number one thing for a leader, acceptance of reality. So.
Yeah, I think when you're engaging one-on-one with a team, and I say this often to my leadership team, and this is just a practice I've always had, if you go into a room with 10 employees, when you leave, unless it's, a specific meeting or there's a major issue, but if it's just a casual conversation or you're just chatting it up, you should leave with that room feeling better than when you entered, right? I think that's good leadership.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean I'm teaching them the ways of their individual subjects or their roles, or, I'm not helping creative with certain things, I'm not helping Brian behind the scenes with his camera or the dynamic stuff he does. But if he feels better about himself, he feels better in that moment, that's unleashing empowerment.
Well, we'll talk about Brian another time.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll make sure we list everything that he's got going on back there.
Right.
Christina, thank you so much.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely amazing. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Me
Thank you
too.
so much.
You.
I think you know this, that we have a little tradition before we close out. We talk about something that we're grateful for today.
Yes.
Would you like me to have John start, or would you like to start?
I'll start if that's okay.
Ladies first.
So
Pure leadership right there.
There you go. What I am grateful for right now is not all of my clients know this, but for the past couple of years, it's been pretty challenging. Probably one of the top 3 most challenging phases of my life. And I'm so grateful to have just the clients that I've had for a really long time and the opportunity to continue to connect with people that I love, and just be surrounded with such a supportive community has been amazing and helped me get to the other side of that very challenging time. And so I feel like I'm on the other side of that. So I'm just so incredibly grateful.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
John?
Adam, you want to go second this time? You always go last.
Yeah,
okay.
I'll go second. You know what? I'm grateful for fear. Let me explain a little bit, because fear is always something that I struggled with. If I was fearful of whatever it was that I knew I had to do, whether it was easy, difficult, didn't matter, right? Didn't matter on that spectrum. It would debilitate me. I would just hesitate. I wouldn't do it. I would justify it in my head. Nah, I can do it a different way. So finally embraced fear, and I find myself moving towards it now.
Great.
Instead of running away from it. So I would say fear would be what I'm grateful for today.
That's amazing.
Thanks.
Good.
I reflect often, as I think many of us do in their life, and I think back to pre-Christina, so PC.
Yeah.
Pre-Christina, I was single, dating my wife at the time, now wife, and I just think about how I've changed or evolved, and it's for the better. And it's in the vein of being better than yesterday. And I just think about, I'm excited most about, what I will become over time. It doesn't mean that I'm upset with where I am today. I'm very satisfied with my trajectory as a person, our organization collectively, but I'm really excited about the future. And I think we just have such a tremendous organization with great people. You talk about talent density and A players, we have it. And we're going to continue to build on that. Yeah, we just added Scott Hines, which is fantastic on the technology side.
Love him.
And we're just going to grow and push ourselves and get better. So I'm excited about the future, but mostly just grateful that Christina has impacted my life positively and continues to do so.
Oh,
thank you. I love working with John. He's amazing.
I haven't shared this with you. Shared this with you, but I know you're going to agree with me on this one. I can't wait to see. You're a great dad, great husband, great leader, but I can't wait to see what you're like when you're a grandfather. Lily's
wow.
Lily. No.
Pump the brakes, buddy.
No. We're going fast.
He's like, slow your roll, man.
Yeah. But honestly, you would be that. I would, if I was your grandson, I'd be wanting to go over to Grandma and Grandpa's house all the time.
Well,
one, because I'd be spoiled.
He would be spoiled.
100%.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm gonna wind him up and give him
back. And then give him back.
Yeah.
Yes,
exactly.
Let's get
full of candy.
Let's get Allie, our director, her first kid first. Let's start
exactly.
there.
Right.
All right,
Marriage
Allie,
and
no
kid.
pressure.
You can't see her off
pressure.
camera.
But she's giving me.
She's
the stink
turning
eye
red right now.
Yes.
Yeah. She's giving me the stink eye.
She's doing one of these.
Thank you again, Christina
Thank
Howard
you for having
from
me.
Intently, CEO and founder. We really appreciate the time here. One thing, just to remind you. We've had several discussions over the past several podcasts or sessions that we've had, everything from marketing, branding, communications, leadership, acquisitions, debt and equity. If you want to learn more, if you want more information, please contact us, consulting@mark-taylor.com, and we are happy to help.
What was that again?
Consulting@mark-taylor.com. Thank you, Mr. Carlson. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Adam.
Multifamily Forward presented by Mark Taylor Residential. Thank you, everyone. Take care.